it's Ina the Mood Reader, and today we are going to talk about the 8 reasons why you should pick up Want by Cindy Fave. I have been buddy reading the Want duology with two of my friends from Bookstagram. The Engineer is reading and Bookish Wisps. I will be linking down their accounts below. You should give them a follow. They're very nice people and their feeds are awesome. But yeah, anyway, we have decided to buddy read this book. And I've finished this a few days ago, and until today I still can't get the book out of my head. Not only because I'm planning on reading the second book, but because it's just so damn good. It's a great book. And because of that, I've decided to create this video just like to give it a shout out. I don't know if this was hyped when it was first released, but I think it's an underrated book. It deserves to be recommended to people, especially today. And I don't know, this is a little shout out to the world that you should definitely pick up this book. Before I jump into the reasons, Want is about a group of teenagers who are in futuristic Taipei. They're in the future Taipei where so much pollution has changed the world, and that is harming majority of the population except for the rich people, the yos, or the people who have these protective suits that allow them to breathe fresher air, and the maize. And these are the people who are poor or in the middle class who don't have extra money in order to splurge for protective suits. So they get exposed to this polluted air and their lifespans are shortened. Like the adults only live up to their 40s. So basically that's that. So let's go with the 8 reasons why you should read Want. The first one is that this is a science fiction dystopian novel. And personally for me, that was the main reason why I picked up the book, because I wanted to branch out on different genres that I have been reading. You know how much I am a romance reader first and foremost, and I guess the second genre would be thrillers. And I wanted to explore other things, especially those that I used to love, and I remember liking some dystopian books when I was a teenager. And maybe you also feel the same way if you haven't been reading much out of your comfort genres. Then you should definitely try this out because it's a good sci-fi novel. And personally for me, who, you know, I have very weak brain cells, I want to read like lighter books in terms of dialogue and understanding. This book would be a good entry into sci-fi because the way it was written is easy to understand and it won't overwhelm you too much with terminologies and specific stuff about a certain world. So yeah. The second reason why you should read Want is because it is about a group of misfits, a group of teenagers who when they work together would achieve their common goal. And I know this is like a recent trend. Many people love this specific trope about a group of teenagers, a group of misfits working together and achieving great things, especially since this book is also kind of heist-like. And I know Six of Crows is a really like famous book about heists, but it didn't invent the trope. I mean, there's so many books about it earlier before it was even a thing and until today. And I think Want was able to deliver that specific dynamic you're looking for in rich friendships and people working together who you wouldn't think would do well when you like judge them based on perception. And what I liked about reading Want is that the dynamic is so good. I love their friendship, their banter, how they relate with each other, how they care for each other, and how they were able to commit to the mission that they wanted to do. I really love this specific group of people, and I've been rooting for them since the very first pages. And the thing is, this book ended quite abruptly at, I think, 320-ish pages, and I could have gotten more, and I wouldn't like hate it, because I really love following along the journey of these groups of people. So the third reason why you should read Want is that it discusses environmental, political, and social class themes. First, of course, because the world has fallen victim into human behavior, like human errors of not being able to take care of the environment. We are suffering in the future. And the way that this book was written is that you would really feel how close it is for this to happen to us. And in this book, people don't know what blue skies are like anymore. It was like a myth to them, because the world is filled with smoke, with smog, with pollution, and it's actually very realistic considering what the world we are living in right now is like. So at that setting, Taiwan isn't what it used to be, and gone were all the plants, and its beauty has been forgotten. And yeah, also this book touched on political and social class issues, specifically with how the rich is getting richer and how the poor is getting poorer. Like, even today in our world, we already feel how the divide of the poor versus rich has been felt today in our own world in the time of the pandemic. And the same goes with their world, as the rich people have access to healthcare. They still get to party, they still get to live their lives, because they have this high technology suits that protect them from the bad air, while poor people die all the time, and it's like already normal for them. They can't afford healthcare. They can't even afford getting an ambulance or being sent to the hospital. They couldn't afford proper funerals. And the thing is, this book was supposed to be a fiction read, but it's actually very real, especially today that we are still in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic. And the book Want has delivered a very realistic critique of how we as people in general have been treating our planet, not specifically related to just Taiwan alone or the Philippines from where I'm at, but in all countries in the world. And the writing style of Cindy Pon really delivers in describing how it would be like in the near future, that you would really feel that you are there where the characters are. And let me tell you guys, it isn't really a good place to be in, and it's really scary how close we are for this to actually happen. And just the way they are describing people using face masks to like limit the pollution or the air that they breathe is actually very comparable to us today wearing face masks just to be safe against the pandemic. So, fourth reason why I recommend you to read Want is it's a good depiction of the Asian culture, and most particularly what it is really like in Taipei, Taiwan. And I always say that the world deserves to hear more Asian stories in all of the genres, and I'm very happy that I have something like this in science fiction, something that's written by an author who has own voices for like being Chinese and living in Taiwan. And in this book, even though I've never been there before, reading this is like getting transported to Taiwan, and the food, the culture, like the sounds, even like how it feels like to be walking those streets with the lights and the billboards and the market and the people and the karaoke. The author really did a great job of bringing you there and introducing you to a Taipei. Though it's in the future, it's still the world of Taipei in its own right. So yeah. The fifth reason why you should read Want is the representation. If you want diversity, you'll definitely get it here. I mean, of course, we have our Taiwanese character, Jason Zhou. We have Jason, who is, he belongs to the ethnicity Han, which is the majority ethnicity of people in Taiwan. And aside from him, we have Victor, who is a Filipino character. We have Arun, an Indian character. Ling Yi, who is Chinese, and Iris. And I forgot what Iris's ethnicity is, if she also identifies as Chinese. But as you can see, this book also portrays how Taiwan is a melting pot of cultures, because even today, if you go visit Taiwan, you'll see how different people from Asia coexist in harmony together at the community. And aside from that, aside from loving all the representation for Asia in the characters, I also enjoyed the secondary couple in this book, which are Ling Yi and Iris. Ling Yi identifies as bisexual and she is in a relationship with Iris, though her personal preferences aren't mentioned. It was just mentioned that they are in a relationship with each other. The sixth reason why I loved Want is the romance aspect. I know many people don't really like having romance in the books that they read, if they're fantasy or science fiction, but for me it made me like the book more, because the relationship between Dayu and Jason progressed quite I think their relationship's progression was obvious at the onset of the book, but it wasn't forced. I felt the chemistry between the two characters. I loved how their relationship progressed. I loved seeing the story through Jason's eyes, and I don't know. There's just something about them that makes me want to ship them a lot. And I don't know if it's also the same response for other people who have read this book, but for me, I felt like their romance is very organic, and it made me get a little bonus from reading this book. I really loved that aspect of the story. The seventh reason why I enjoyed reading Want is how it was written. Basically, the writing style of the author. I know I mentioned it a bit earlier, but I think her writing style alone deserves a spot here in this list, because again, as I mentioned, I'm really not the type to pick up books like this, but her writing style was perfect for the story that she wants to deliver. And for me, her writing style made it easier to jump into the book, and it made me feel the atmosphere and the ambience of the story that she wants to deliver. All in all, it's really her writing style that made me attached to the characters, to the story, and when this book says action, it really delivers. It told a story in 300 plus pages, and sometimes I have to admit the pacing was all over the place because twists come one after the other. It gets a little bit overwhelming, but that also makes it very hard to put down because of the things that were happening one after the other, that it doesn't get boring, at least for me. So, yeah, and the 8th reason why you should read this book is it because it's very relevant for our world today, for especially during the pandemic. And again, going back to what the environmental, socio-political aspects of this book is, it's like a wake-up call for people like me who are admittedly living comfortably compared to other people in the middle of this pandemic. And sometimes we tend to forget the passive role we are playing instead of trying to be more helpful and more aware of our role in trying to make the world a better place instead of just living for ourselves. And this book shows us how greed can hurt people, and how sometimes, being stuck in a powerful position is, I don't know. Basically, I hate the rich and the people or the corporations who take advantage of their money to manipulate the market, and the government who turns a blind eye and just accepts whatever money they can get from the rich. I don't know. And it's a little spoilery, so if you don't want spoilers, you can get out of the video now. Thank you. But on the middle part of the book, there becomes a pandemic. There comes a pandemic. I don't know if I would actually call it a pandemic or maybe an epidemic. But it's related to a flu-like strain from, I think, an H something and something virus. I think H7N9 or something like that. And that was the most relatable part of the story, and that was scary because in this book, Patient Zero, the virus was developed by a corporation, and Patient Zero was infected by the corporation just because they want to sell more products to the poor. They want the people to be driven to buy their suits because their suits will be a way for them not to be infected by the disease. So when that part hit, I took a little break from the book because it was too much already for me, considering that we are in the midst of a pandemic right now. So if that would be a little triggering for you or not healthy for your mind, then this might not be the right book to pick up right now. But if you're open into reading stories about a similar situation to us, then won't actually deliver something great. So in conclusion, what did I like about Want by Cindy Fave? Everything. It's not every day that I pick up a science fiction book, and I really enjoyed this one. Though it is only 300 pages long, it did not leave me lacking on the story. I actually felt that it was good as is. I mean, I know it's a part of a duology, but if I didn't have the chance to read the second book, I'm good with it. I think the story was concluded well. I know what's gonna happen to the characters, and the message it needed to deliver spoke to me. And yeah, I think it's perfect for readers like me who are just trying to dip their toes into a different genre and want to explore more works by Asian authors, works by science fiction authors in the young adult age group, and I don't know. So all in all, I recommend this book to everyone. You should definitely pick this book up. And if you have suggestions for me about books very similar to one, please comment them down below. I would really appreciate your suggestions. Thank you for watching the video and see you guys on the next one. Bye!